this week's Sunday's games are over, and let's go over these games. It was honestly a good week. And if you've been watching these videos, you know I always start off with my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, and it's been a disaster class this year, and this game was another circus show. It was just, I don't even know what to put it. The 30-24 score, it's very misleading, but there needs to be a very serious conversation had about Dak Prescott. Just another mediocre performance from Dak Prescott. His touchdown to interception ratio this year is 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. This was the guy last year who finished second in MVP voting. He's had an insane downfall this year, and it sucks because I defended him. So many Cowboys fans defended him this summer and all offseason and years prior. It just sucks that this season he's just not performing well. And don't let those 2 touchdowns fool you. Those are fake touchdowns. Those are fake comeback touchdowns. And I'll talk about the fake comeback here in a little bit, but there really does need to be a discussion had about Dak Prescott. But like I said, this is another fake comeback game. We've had so many fake comeback games over the last few years. I mean, our most recent one was week 3 against the Ravens, where it was 20-25, but we should have lost by like 20 points. This was another one of those games, and I'm just sick and tired of it because it deludes so many people. It sucks because at the beginning it looked like a very winnable game. We were up at halftime, but the 49ers pulled away, and the final score should not have been 30-24. And all those things I just mentioned might not be the craziest parts of the game at all, as Trayvon Diggs right after the game still had his pads on and everything, went into the locker room, checked social media, which is probably the wrong thing to do after a game, saw a tweet that was made about him, saw the reporter outside of the locker room, and confronted him about it. And this is a terrible look, dude. And I'll show you the tweet that was made. There was no need to do this right after the game, or let alone at all. I'm not going to show the video because it's against copyright rules and I don't want to get copyright claimed or anything like that, but this is the tweet Trayvon Diggs was talking about. Just a simple, what is Trayvon Diggs doing? And if you see the play, go to Twitter. I recommend you watch the play. Trayvon Diggs is just being lazy on this play. Simply put, he has all the right to call him out because this wasn't a good play by Trayvon. And Trayvon Diggs went up to him after the game and said, "You don't know ball." And I think the guy who made the tweet, Mike Leslie, absolutely knows ball, because Trayvon Diggs was just being he was being lazy. I'm repeating myself. I'm stuttering. I don't care, but that reporter had all the right to call out Trayvon Diggs. And Trayvon Diggs, it wasn't even like the dude didn't know what he was talking about. It wasn't like he was just what is the word? It's not like he was calling him out on something silly or he was making fun of his family or anything like that. This is a very valid criticism, and Trayvon Diggs was just lashing out. This is just a terrible look for the franchise, dude. This whole season has just been terrible for the franchise. It's made me not want to be a fan anymore. Fine, I'll look at some bright sides though. CeeDee Lamb had a good game, and that's about it. Him and Brendan Aubrey have been the only 2 bright spots on this team all year. So thank you guys. Finally, we can stop talking about my Dallas Cowboys and make fun of another terrible team, as the Patriots defeated the Jets 25-22 earlier on Sunday. This supposed Jets super team has now fallen to 2-6, and it's not looking good for them at all. Entering this season, there was a lot of hype for this team, and one of my biggest concerns is that this was going to be a failed super team, a team that had a lot of expectations but didn't do anything. And my main concern was that Aaron Rodgers in his last season in Green Bay wasn't that good, and he was also coming off an Achilles injury. There was a lot of concern to be made, even though they had Zach Wilson going 7-10 every year. So if you're going 7-10 with Zach Wilson, well, you should be better with Aaron Rodgers. Well, that's not the case at all, and it's not looking good for them at all, and it might be time to call it quits. At the time, a lot of people were confused as to why the Jets fired Robert Saleh, because if you remember, they fired him after that Vikings loss, and they were only 2-3, and now they have lost 5 straight games, and it didn't make sense at the time, and it still doesn't make sense, because they're now 2-6, and it's obviously not his fault. There need to be changes that need to be made. It's not his fault. It's someone's fault up there. We just don't know. It's a weird situation. Now, this was the most shocking game of the week in my opinion, as the Browns beat the Ravens 29-24. There's a lot to go over with this one. Now, of course, the center of attention for this game was the fact that Jameis Winston was starting, and it was a DTR. The Browns finally swallowed their pride. Even though it took Deshaun Watson tearing his Achilles, they swallowed their pride. They started with Jameis Winston, and he balled out. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and I'm really happy for him because one, he's in a very crappy situation right now, and two, he's completely turned around as a human being. He used to be not the best dude at Florida State, but he's become a very likable dude. He's one of the funniest dudes in the NFL, and he's low key a baller. It's a shame that he's been a backup for this Browns team who should have been starting him since like week 3 or week 4, and heck, I would even say they should have started him when the season started, and I'm really happy for him. The fact that the game after Deshaun Watson gets hurt, they don't play an easy team or whatever, they play one of the hottest and best teams in the NFL. And they go out and they have a comeback victory that is led by Jameis Winston, their backup quarterback. It just shows so much to what this Browns team is and how much they have fumbled away their future with Deshaun Watson. It's absolutely unreal. We now go over to Detroit. Sorry guys, terrible city, but the Lions aren't too bad there though, as they scored 52 points against the Titans on Sunday, and the guy of the night, well, I guess it wasn't the night, but the guy of the game was Khalif Freeman. He went off on special teams in an absolute masterclass by the Detroit Lions. Over this season, I am fully convinced the Lions will be the team out of the NFC to make the Super Bowl. I mean, the Commanders are good, but besides that, there's just really no one out in the NFC that I can really see contending with them. Unless the 49ers can get healthy, then possibly, but besides that, no idea. I am sure of one thing though, and that is when I make this video in 2025, the Lions will be updated for this list, and it will say week 8 of 2024, unless they score 50 or more points later on down the line, which very well could happen. This Lions team is absolutely insane, but the Lions, without a doubt, will be updated. The Bengals lost to the Eagles 37-17, and the Eagles, they're not a bad team at all, but it's time for Zach Taylor to be canned. Up until Joe Burrow got hurt, they were 5-5, and now they're 3-5 with a very good roster. Like, I don't know how this guy still has a job. The Bengals should be much better than they are. It's really sad to see. Bengals fans, I do not blame you at all if you want this dude gone. And to end off the video, we have to talk about this Commanders-Bears game. It was easily the most hyped up game of the season, in my opinion. The number 1 overall pick versus number 2 overall pick. The last 2 Heismans going up against each other. It was set up to be a very great game. The Bears looked like they had it in the bag, 15-12. And then on the final play of the game, no one expected Jane Daniels to get that ball that far. He threw that from his own 35-yard line. That's a heck of a throw from a guy who was seen as a running quarterback. It's absolutely insane throw. Most quarterbacks can't make that type of throw. But anyway, he heaves it, and it's bounced off at like the 1-yard line and lands in former Cowboys legend Noah Brown's hands for the touchdown. Watching live. Absolutely insane. One of the best plays I've seen live in my lifetime. I'm still at a loss for words of it. It's gonna be one of the best plays I've ever seen when I'm all said and done with my life. But yeah, that's about it for today's week. Yeah, goodbye.